Formula One racing driver Michael Schumacher.
Michael Schumacher.
One of the greatest drivers of all time.
Greatest driver in Formula One history.
Michael Schumacher. That name alone still sends shivers down the spine of Formula One fans around the world. For some, he is the man who turned Ferrari into a dynasty. For others, he is the ruthless competitor who would stop at nothing to win. And for many, he is the greatest driver to ever sit behind the wheel of a Formula One car. But Schumacher's story is not just about speed, trophies, and champagne on the podium. It's also about sacrifice, controversy, triumph against impossible odds, and eventually, tragedy. His life on and off the track reads like a script that Hollywood could never truly capture. This is the rise and fall of Michael Schumacher. Schumacher wasn't born into money. Unlike many drivers today who come from wealthy families, Michael's early life was modest. He was born in 1969 in Hürth, a small town in West Germany. His father gave him a pedal cart when he was just 4 years old. But here's the thing. Michael's family didn't have the money to support a racing career. His parents worked tirelessly, and his father even scavenged used parts to keep Michael's cart running. By the time he was a teenager, Schumacher was already showing signs of greatness. He wasn't just fast, he had a maturity beyond his years. He studied racing lines, thought about tire wear, and had an incredible ability to stay calm under pressure. In a sport where raw speed is often celebrated, Schumacher's brain was his greatest weapon. He was strategic. He understood how to win not just races, but championships. Michael's rise to Formula One was fast, almost too fast. After dominating karting and Formula 3, he caught the eye of Mercedes. In 1990, he was signed to their young driver program, racing in the World Sports Prototype Championship. But his big break came in 1991, in one of the most unusual circumstances in Formula One history. Michael Schumacher got the call. Most rookies would have been overwhelmed, but Schumacher, he qualified 7th in his very first race. That single performance turned heads across the paddock. Even though his car failed in the opening lap of the race, the impression he left was unforgettable. Almost immediately, Schumacher was snapped up by Benetton, and within a few years, he was fighting and beating some of the biggest names in Formula One. At Benetton, Schumacher quickly became the man to beat. In 1994, he won his first world championship. But that season wasn't without controversy. The 1994 season was one of the darkest in Formula One history. Suddenly, Schumacher found himself carrying the torch as the face of the next generation. But his first title came with drama. At the final race in Adelaide, Schumacher collided with Damon Hill. Many believed the crash was deliberate, as it secured the championship for Michael. Whether it was intentional or not, it showed the world just how ruthless Schumacher could be. In 1995, he repeated the feat, winning back-to-back championships. And then came the move that would define his career. When Schumacher joined Ferrari in 1996, it was a bold move. Ferrari hadn't won a championship since 1979. The team was seen as chaotic, disorganized, and past its glory days. Many thought Schumacher was making a mistake, but Michael saw something others didn't. He didn't just want to win races, he wanted to build a legacy. At Ferrari, he surrounded himself with some of the best minds in Formula One. Slowly, Ferrari transformed from a struggling team into a powerhouse. The first few years were tough. Mechanical failures, crashes, and near misses defined the late 1990s. But then, everything changed. From 2000 to 2004, Michael Schumacher was unstoppable. He won 5 consecutive world championships, bringing his total to 7. He broke record after record, the most wins, the most fastest laps, the most points in a season. Watching Schumacher race during those years almost felt unfair. He wasn't just winning, he was crushing the competition. But what made Schumacher truly special wasn't just the speed of the car. It was how he worked with his team. He wasn't the kind of driver who just showed up and drove. He spent hours in the garage with the engineers, testing, learning, and pushing the limits. He knew every detail of his car. His work ethic was legendary. He would out-train everyone. He believed that even the smallest advantage could mean the difference between winning and losing. Fans admired his brilliance. Rivals respected him. For some, this was part of what made him great. For others, it left a stain on his legacy. Still, no one could deny his talent. He was the face of Formula One, a superstar whose fame went beyond the sport. By 2006, Schumacher was slowing down, not on the track, but in life. After a legendary career, he announced his retirement. Fans around the world celebrated his achievements. Ferrari honored him as the man who brought them back to the top. But Schumacher wasn't done. In 2010, he shocked the world by making a comeback with Mercedes. The return, however, didn't go as planned. Schumacher was older now, and the Mercedes car wasn't yet the powerhouse it would later become. He showed flashes of brilliance, but he was no longer the unstoppable force of the early 2000s. In 2012, he retired for good. This time, it was final. His place in history was already secured. Then came the accident that changed everything. In December 2013, Michael Schumacher was skiing in the French Alps with his family. A routine day turned into disaster when he fell and hit his head on a rock. Despite wearing a helmet, the impact was severe. Schumacher was placed in a medically induced coma. The news shocked the world. Fans, drivers, and teams across Formula One held their breath. Michael Schumacher, the man who seemed invincible on the track, was suddenly fighting for his life. Since then, details about his condition have been scarce. His family has chosen to keep his recovery private. What we do know is that he survived, but he has never been the same. The man who once danced with danger at 300 kilometers per hour was left struggling after a simple ski trip. So, how should we remember Michael Schumacher? For some, he was ruthless. For others, he was a hero. But one thing is undeniable. He changed Formula One forever. Before Schumacher, Ferrari was a sleeping giant. With him, they became the most dominant force in the sport. He set records that stood for nearly 2 decades, only recently broken by Lewis Hamilton. And beyond the numbers, Schumacher inspired a generation. Drivers like Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton have openly admitted that Schumacher was their idol. Without him, Formula One might not be what it is today. Even now, years after his accident, fans still chant his name. His legacy is not just about what he achieved, but how he made people feel. Michael Schumacher's life is a story of brilliance, controversy, triumph, and tragedy. He rose from humble beginnings to become the greatest driver of his era. He built Ferrari into an empire. He broke records that seemed impossible. And then, when it all seemed perfect, life reminded us how fragile even the strongest can be. But greatness isn't just about victories. It's about impact. And Michael Schumacher's impact on Formula One and on the millions who watched him will never fade. He defined an era. He inspired countless drivers. And for many, no matter what happens, he will always be the greatest of all time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the rise and fall of Michael Schumacher, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more F1 stories, and drop a comment below. Do you think Schumacher is still the greatest of all time? Or has Lewis Hamilton taken that crown? Your thoughts keep the discussion alive, and your support helps us bring more legendary F1 stories to life.